I don't, unfortunately, and fortunately, I guess. Unfortunately, I remember, Eli Wiesel saw this movie. And he said to me, I wish you were telling a different story. I wish you told a different story. And I do too. I wish I was telling a different story. And I thought the story was worth telling because you can either ignore what's going on, but I think to ignore it was to support it, or it's worth the trouble, worth the controversy, because I wanted people to empathize with those characters. I felt like I could, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being able to empathize with another person. That's the way to peace. So, is there a difference between imagining a conflict or imagining an argument and then living through that argument? Well, I'm not writing a speech, and I'm not writing an article in a newspaper. What I did is I made a film. Mm-hmm. The film is something that you can watch over and over again, and it exists on a lot of different levels. It mostly is an emotional journey. Mm-hmm. And in the context of other films, as a filmmaker, what do you want to do? What do I want to do? What do I think what can be achieved? What is my interest? Do I get satisfaction? And I definitely didn't do this so I could be in the middle of some controversy. That's not my goal. Mm-hmm. The fact that the film is controversial means that there are people that like it, there are people that believe in it, and it means that there are people that are scared of it. I created a vessel, something that everybody can use. If they want, they can use it for a positive purpose. By its nature of its existence, if people, without seeing it, say that they're against it, there's something powerful there. The fact is, there are lots of Jewish people that don't agree with each other about this topic. And the UJC, the AJC, or Simon Wiesenthal's group, or whoever, then you've got J Street, you've got Jewish People for Peace, you've got this cloud, just different groups that are tired of the idea that people don't want a dialogue. And it's not just about dialogue. We need to resolve this and make people have to live together. They're there. Why should all people be terrified? And I'm talking about Palestinian people and Israeli people, that their children are not going to come home at the end of the day. Nobody wants to be a soldier. And I don't understand why there should be two soldiers protecting each settler in a place which is not their land. And I guess one thing that is in the film that is very disturbing is when you see people with yarmulkes and guns shooting into a Palestinian civilian's house or throwing rocks in the house. It just doesn't seem, for me, the first time I saw that, I was ashamed and shocked and disappointed. And it's amazing that you can just tell a simple story that is not very, I think it's quite innocuous. There's no good violence, there's no condoning of violence of any sort in the film. And what I showed is very, very light in the context of a lot of the things that have happened. Film's been attacked also for being too light or not being critical enough. I don't want to be part of the people that want me to criticize more, and I don't want to be part of the people that feel like they're been betrayed or attacked, or or people. I don't want to be part of. This is my personal version of a girl's diary, and I thought it was an interesting thing to do as a Jewish person from the United States, to tell the version of a teenage Palestinian girl's story. And everything that's in the movie is something that comes out of her book. It's about her memory. It's about her predecessors, her aunt, her mother, Hind, who I think established a beautiful paradigm and a beautiful model for what a modern possibility was for these kids. I mean, also in the scene where the Egyptian cousin comes to marry his cousin and says, and Hind says, "Do you want to go to Egypt and marry your cousin?" And Hadil says, "No, I don't, Mama Hind." You've got somebody that is standing in the way of people taking advantage of a young girl or superimposing their system on. And so she was a very progressive person who drew a line around these kids in a battle zone and was able to protect them for 50 years, actually 63 years now. But unfortunately, because of the wall, it's impossible for certain kids to get to that school. I think there's, at its height, I think there was about 3,000 girls there. I think there are less than 100 girls in that school now. No shortage of orphans, but they can't get there. That's a separate issue. I think one of the interesting things for me about making a film is that it's not just something that's removed, that doesn't need to be addressed. It's something that has an effect on what's going on right now, and that is interesting to me. I want to make work that is not that is an actual thing that people can respond to, that people can use, and that can change something. It's a tool. I don't see art as a decorative thing. I see it as a utilitarian thing. And so I don't just want to entertain somebody and sell tickets. What I want to do is tell a story that might create empathy. And I'm tired of seeing dead children. I mean, it's a terrible thing that happened to this family, the Fogel family, but at the same time, there are terrible things that happen to Palestinian people all the time. None of it's good. So anybody that kills a child is a murderer, whether they're an Israeli person or they're a Palestinian person, or they're an Afghani person or whatever. But if I made a movie about people in Afghanistan or in Colombia, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about this. It's just the fact that it is a criticism of, and the criticism is that everybody that lives in Israel does not have the same rights. And if it's a democratic country, it ought to be democratic for everybody that lives there. And that's not what I found when I lived there. When I was working there, I did not find, I had special privileges that I felt that other people didn't. And you can have a healthy Israeli state if everybody can live in that country and believe whatever they want to believe. So I don't see that Jewish people should have more rights than Muslim people. I think in this country, in the United States, we supposedly all have the same rights no matter what religion we are. At the same time, I think that it's super important to have a Jewish homeland in Israel, but under the guise of national security, we can't be barbaric.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that being said, and there's a lot of barbarism on both sides, that being said, the film doesn't include anything like that. This is a side issue that's come up because people are objecting, we're objecting to showing the movie at the United Nations, which is a place, a platform for discussion, for understanding the other. And on a personal level, when I read Rula's book, I thought, I can understand these people. I looked at it as if I was her father. And I felt like I watched her grow up. And I also thought that I could have been her. I could have been Nadia. I could have been any of those people. And if you or me were in a situation where we grew up in this school and we went out and we saw something like the demolition of a house, we would probably try to help our people in some way or identify with them. But the important thing in looking at this movie, I think, is that we're not just identifying as or representing as a part of our group. We need to look at something as if we are a person, one person. It's one person's story. It's not all the stories. And so the I is super important in her story. And if I want to tell her story, it doesn't mean that I'm betraying my group, because my group is a myriad of all different kinds of people that happen to be Jewish and have different, are as different as the myriad of people that are all Americans. So what's the problem?